Evicting a tenant can seem like a complicated process, but in this video, we'll quickly explain the eviction laws in Massachusetts and outline some simple steps that landlords can take to initiate an eviction. In this video, we'll talk about what the eviction process looks like, Massachusetts laws that determine how evictions are handled, and how to legally remove a non-compliant tenant from a property. Be sure to watch to the end of this video to find a link to a fillable eviction notice. First, what is an eviction? Eviction is the process of legally removing a tenant. If the tenant refuses to leave after violating the terms of a lease agreement, a landlord must seek an eviction from the court. Self-help evictions, in which a landlord changes locks on a property or physically removes a tenant from that property without first going to court, are illegal. Keep in mind that eviction is different from the simple termination of a lease. A landlord can opt not to renew a lease after the specified term has ended. There is no need to involve a court in this process. In Massachusetts, if a tenant fails to pay rent or breaches the terms of a lease in some other way, a landlord can issue what's known as a notice to quit. There are several versions of this form, and each applies to a specific situation. The first is a 14-day notice to quit for non-payment. This is used when a tenant fails to pay rent. Essentially, it gives the tenant 14 days to either pay the unpaid rent or face eviction. Another version is the 30-day notice to quit for non-compliance. This gets used when the tenant breaches the conditions of a lease in some other way that's not related to the payment of rent. The notice warns the tenant to either fix the identified problem or face eviction in 30 days. If, however, the tenant has been found engaging in illegal activity such as drug distribution on the property, then state law authorizes eviction in 30 days without the opportunity to fix or cure the problem. There is also a 30-day notice to quit that gets used to terminate a month-to-month lease. This is different from the 30-day notice to quit for non-compliance in that it gets used as a matter of routine and not in response to a violation of the lease's terms. The landlord is responsible for making sure the notice to quit is received by the tenant and must be able to prove this to the court. A good way to secure proof is to send the notice via certified mail. If the allotted time frame ends and the tenant still hasn't responded to the notice to quit, the landlord can begin an eviction proceeding. This can be done by filling out two forms known as a summons and a complaint with the local court in the area where the property is located. The complaint lists the reasons for the landlord's grievance, and the summons sets a hearing date. The fee to file these forms varies depending on the situation. A list of fees can be found on the Massachusetts Housing Court website. Once the complaint and summons are filed, they must be served on the tenant. The landlord must be able to provide proof that the documents have been properly served. After being served with the complaint and the summons, the tenant can respond via a form called the Summary Process Answer Form. This must be filed with the court no later than the first Monday after the complaint and summons have been received. Before the court date, either party can file a form requesting discovery. This is the opportunity to view any and all of the documents that may be presented against them in court. If the tenant doesn't appear in court, or if the judge rules in the landlord's favor, the tenant is formally evicted. If the tenant still has not vacated the property 11 days after the judgment is handed down, the landlord can obtain what's called an execution. This is a form that authorizes the sheriff to remove the tenant and the tenant's possessions from the property. From eviction notices to court documents, we've got everything you need to get eviction proceedings going in Massachusetts. You can access it all at the link below. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on important topics in real estate and business.